are the player, and the arcade is the arena. You focus your mind and propel yourself into a universe where you're the master of your destiny for as long as you can keep the trip going. This is the arcade experience. We're ColecoVision. We bring the arcade experience home with games like Donkey Kong with multiple screens, arcade controls, and arcade graphics that let you have the arcade experience at home because your vision is our vision. ColecoVision.
Hey, what's going on? Nefarious Wes here, and I'm going to go ahead and do a video that I've been wanting to do ever since I started my YouTube channel. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. But I'm going to discuss the very first video game system, very first video game console that I ever had. The system that got me into video games to begin with, the ColecoVision. The ColecoVision was released in August of 1982, and it eventually sold over 6 million units worldwide. Now, in 82, things were going just great for video games. I mean, the Atari 2600 was more popular than ever, and it was to a point where people wanted to play the coin-op arcade machines that they would visit in their living rooms. Atari had some competition in the home video game market. They had the Intellivision to contend with, which my next door neighbor actually had, and then there was the ColecoVision. The day that I was introduced to the ColecoVision was a monumental event in my life, and I still remember it to this day. My dad came home from work late one night. I remember it was already dark, and he had a ColecoVision, this big box. I didn't even know what a ColecoVision was. I had played the Atari 2600 at my uncle's house when we would visit my grandparents. He was still a teenager, and I would spend most of my time playing video games in his room. So when my dad pulled the ColecoVision out of the box and hooked it all up, popped Donkey Kong in, the game that was packed in with the Coleco, turned it on the television screen, and Donkey Kong looked almost identical to the arcade, I was floored. I was blown away, and my God, I wanted to play it. And I fell in love. Of course I did. I fell in love with the thing. And apparently my mom was the one who encouraged my dad to get it, to give me, I don't know, to challenge me. She figured it would be something that was right up my alley, and she was right. She even wrote in my baby book how good I was at these games at such an early age. And this is when I completely fell in love with video games. Probably annoying the hell out of my parents. I'm pretty sure my parents regretted it. Even though my dad played video games at the time, I'm pretty sure they regretted it because I became obsessed. And every Christmas, every birthday, I wanted new games. New games. So I would pester them a lot to get new games. Now, sadly, when I got the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987, the ColecoVision kind of got ignored. We set it aside, even though I would bust it out every now and then for nostalgia's sake, just like I do with retro games now. So, eventually, though, once we got into the 16-bit era, I got the SEGA Genesis, the ColecoVision was all but forgotten. My mom eventually gave the ColecoVision away to the Goodwill or Salvation Army, one of those donation places. And she didn't ask me. She didn't ask if I still wanted it. She just gave it away. Just like my He-Man toys, my Transformers, my Ninja Turtles, gave them all away, gave everything away. My Star Wars toys, everything, gave it away. Luckily, though, she didn't find my cartridges, so I still have every freaking ColecoVision game that I had as a kid. So my collection is not big, it's very meager, but my collection is made up of games that I had as a kid, games that I grew up with, so they're very special to me. So last year for my birthday, my friends had a surprise for me. They're really awesome. My sister and my best friends. And when we went to Casa Bonita for my birthday, they busted out a ColecoVision for me, and I about jumped through the roof, man. I was just floor. I didn't see it coming. I was shocked, I was surprised, and god damn it, I was grateful. So I could finally play my collection of games, which I probably haven't played since, I'm gonna say I was 11 or 12 years old. So now that I got the system, now that I can play the games, I can finally show off my collection, discuss which games that I have, and just reminisce, you know, go back in time, take a time capsule here, and let's check out my ColecoVision collection and see what these great games were all about.
Nintendo's 1981 arcade hit Donkey Kong was the pack-in game with the ColecoVision and was without a doubt the system's biggest selling point. And for good reason, as this port of Donkey Kong looks closer to the arcade original versus any other home console on the market. The graphics and sound are phenomenal for a 1982 game played within the comfort of your own living room. Yeah, the controls are janky as all hell, but damn is it fun! The first game I ever remember playing, I'm still a big Donkey Kong fan to this day. The second game I got for the ColecoVision was Nintendo's Popeye, published by Parker Brothers. While not nearly as visually impressive as Donkey Kong, Popeye plays extremely close to its arcade counterpart and is a ton of fun. Despite how dated it looks by today's standards, the Coleco version is a very good port, even including Wimpy, who was omitted from the NES one. Good stuff. Zaxxon is a damn fine port of Sega's 1982 arcade classic isometric shooter. The graphics are impressive for a 36-year-old game, and Zaxxon is what taught me to use reverse controls when playing airplane-type games. Hard as nails, this brutal classic separates the men from the boys, which explains why I struggled with it as a 4-year-old. The transitions in between stages are very unique, and when you come toe-to-toe with Zaxxon, the lousy bastard has a weak spot akin to the Death Stars. A tough, but fun one. I must have annoyed the living shit out of my dad, begging day after day for Donkey Kong Jr. as I loved the arcade version. When he brought it home after work one day, I about jumped through the ceiling. I still remember that day. While initially disappointed that DK Jr. didn't look as close to its arcade counterpart as the original Donkey Kong, it soon didn't matter as the gameplay was spot on. At the time, Donkey Kong Jr. was my all-time favorite game, and I put countless hours into it. Still a favorite of mine to this day. I had played Pitfall on the ColecoVision before the Atari 2600 version and was spoiled by its superior graphics and sound. Made by Activision, Pitfall Harry moves from left to right, or right to left, screen by screen, jumping over logs, onto the heads of ravenous gators, and even swinging on vines while yodeling Tarzan's war cry. Treasure awaits Pitfall as he traverses the deadly hazards of the jungle. One of my favorites on the Coleco, Pitfall is pretty sweet. And speaking of Tarzan, a really cool game was released in 1984 where the king of the jungle has to rescue all of his simian allies, who are locked in cages, guarded by poachers. Tarzan punches his way through angry apes and snakes, swims past gators, and climbs up trees in order to swing from vine to vine. Like Pitfall, the game progresses by moving from screen to screen, and with impressive visuals accompanied by a jungle beat, Tarzan shows the evolution from the single-screened arcade games to the side-scrolling adventures that are in abundance today. Destructor is a game that I had obtained while in middle school. It uses the wheel controller accessory, which I don't have, so I can't do much with this one. Seems like it would be fun with the wheel, though. Frontline is a run-and-gun from Taito and utilizes the Super Action controllers, which I also do not have. Another game that I got in the lot with Destructor, Frontline isn't much fun without the controller it was designed for. My dad bought Defender solely for himself. He loved it and played it far more than I did. While I did enjoy the game, I had more fun watching him play it, and often he'd still be at it by my bedtime. He was that damn good. He would stay up all night blasting aliens, drinking beer, and just killing the game. He even got to wave 90-something, which even back then I thought was incredible. This is an extremely good port of the arcade, and definitely a winner on the ColecoVision. Looping is a 1982 plane shooter that plays a lot like a poor man's Time Pilot. The controls take some getting used to, and I honestly never played this one too much. I have only one word to describe it. On the same token, my all-time favorite ColecoVision game is exceptional. BurgerTime is a 1982 Data East arcade classic starring Peter Pepper as he constructs giant hamburgers, all the while avoiding rogue ingredients. Another very close arcade-to-home port, this single-screened romp has tight controls in comparison to the arcade original, and even the NES port. This is without a doubt my all-time favorite version of BurgerTime, and epitomizes just how well the Coleco could translate arcade hits to your television screen. This game looks and sounds like ass, but is actually pretty fun. Assuming the role of Miner Bounty Bob, you have to fill in all of the striped platforms before the time limit is up, but it is not an easy task. Baddies impede your progress along the way, but can easily be disposed of when mining tools are collected and the enemies turn blue, a la Pac-Man. I remember getting stuck on the elevator section because I didn't know that I needed to use the number pad to tell the elevator where to go, despite that info being in the instruction manual. I remember being on the playground during first grade recess, and a buddy who had played the game told me how to get past that part. I couldn't wait to get home and try it. Then I got to the next stage. This game is brutal. SEGA was definitely ahead of the curve with 1982's Subroc arcade, where you engage in a firefight with aircrafts, dodge mines, and shoot it out against other submarines. Ported shortly after to the ColecoVision, Subroc places you behind the periscope, supplying you with crosshairs to eradicate every enemy, bomb, and missile that heads your way. You even have the occasional boss fight where you face off against a flying stove. Or at least that's what I called it as a kid. A really unique game for its time. Roc'n Rope is a 1983 KONAMI port of the arcade original where you assume the role of an explorer on a quest for the golden bird. Equipped with a rope and flashlight, the goal is to reach the bird at the top of the screen. Of course, many hazards await, such as dinosaurs and Neanderthals, but not to fret. Shining a flashlight into the eyes of archaic baddies makes you godlike and affords you some time to sneak by while they remain stunned. A challenging yet fun game, KONAMI was already showing what they were capable of. And speaking of KONAMI, late into the life of the ColecoVision, the developer released Cabbage Patch Kids Adventures in the Park at the height of Cabbage Patch Mania. This is an excellent game as it has some good background music and plays like a side-scrolling platformer, which transitions from screen to screen like earlier games such as Pitfall. Challenging, fun, and addictive, with great graphics and sound, what else would you expect from KONAMI?
Mom, you should buy Billy ColecoVision. Then he could play BurgerTime. Besides, he ate his Brussels sprouts. And ColecoVision plays Congo Bongo, and Billy did clean his room.
This wouldn't have something to do with a free Cabbage Patch Kid.
Cabbage Patch?
Buy a ColecoVision and a Coleco game cartridge by December 31st. We'll send you a Cabbage Patch Kid free.
Wow, ColecoVision, way to go, Amy. I did it just for you.
When you buy ColecoVision, you make two kids happy.
Space Panic has a pretty cool concept where as an astronaut you have to dig holes for aliens to fall into and then quickly bury them to remove them from the board. Unfortunately, the execution doesn't mirror the idea well, and the game comes off a bit clunky. Meh. The early 80s were saturated with Pac-Man clones, so let's cover two of them. In Mousetrap, you're a mouse collecting power pellets, pieces of cheese, all the while avoiding ghosts. I mean cats. Collecting dog bones even allows you to turn into a bulldog who can then take out the cats as if they were blue ghosts. The controls are pretty poor in this one though, so it definitely doesn't hold up to the game that it tries to ape. On the same token, Ladybug is another Pac-Man clone that plays similarly to Mousetrap, only better. In this one, the basic Pac-Man tropes are adhered to, but in Ladybug, colored walls can be manipulated for easier access to other areas, and even used to impede the paths of oncoming enemy bugs. This game is a lot of fun. This game is played with the roller controller, yet another accessory I don't own, as this was another game that I got in a lot when I was in 6th grade. You basically fly overhead, shooting enemies, refueling your ship, and then turning it off, because it can't be played properly unless you have the roller. Carnival is a port of Sega's 1980 arcade classic. The premise is simple: shoot at shit in a shooting gallery. The game is the first to include bonus rounds in a video game, which would subsequently become commonplace. Simple, yet addictive, this game brings the joys of winning prizes at the local fair to our living rooms without having to deal with shady, crooked carnies.
and though they may be rat-like in appearance, they are truly kings among men.
Q*bert is another one of my absolute favorites, and a game I still pop in fairly regularly on the NES, thanks to this version right here. While I loved the arcade game, and still do, once I had Q*bert in my living room, the reins came off, and I began to get fairly decent at it. Getting used to the diagonal controls does take some practice, but once you have it down, get ready for some single screen addiction. Q*bert is just so damn cute, and curses when he dies, just like I do. So how could you not like this little orange dude? Venture is cool as hell. A very unique game for its time, it has 3 stages to explore, which are made up of several rooms containing treasure, which is necessary to collect in order to complete each room. The overworld is made up of tiny sprites and allows access into the rooms throughout each stage, which then switches to a magnified version of the room, where as a smiley face equipped with a bow and arrow, you're able to vanquish the baddies within and collect the treasure. Very fun game, but sadly just loops the final stage over and over once all of the treasures have been collected. One of the most visually impressive games for the ColecoVision, Smurf is a single-screen side-scroller in the same vein as Cabbage Patch Kids, where as a Smurf, you hurdle over obstacles to survive. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Well, it's not. The controls are stiff as hell, with up on the joystick used to jump, and takes quite a bit to master, especially the high jump. God knows how long it took me to get that maneuver down, but despite the game's horrendous controls, Smurf is pretty damn enjoyable, and everyone with a ColecoVision should own a copy.
So there you go, that is every ColecoVision game that I have in my collection, and I have some really good ones. There are a few duds in there, I will admit, but for the most part, I feel like I have some pretty solid games, and like BurgerTime, I could play that anytime. I could play that for hours. I freaking love BurgerTime on the ColecoVision. It is the best version of BurgerTime if you ask me. So ColecoVision systems are kind of pricey right now. I see the games often in my local retro shops, and they aren't all too much. Now, I haven't bought a new ColecoVision game in ages, so I am going to start collecting on that. If I see something good, I'm snagging it. If I see Gyrus or Time Pilot on the ColecoVision, it's mine. So anyway, thanks a lot for checking out this video. It was a lot of fun for me, very nostalgic for me, but I want to ask all of you now, what was your first video game system? What introduced you to video games, and what got you hooked? And for the older viewers out there, or even for the collectors who like to collect everything, what do you think of the ColecoVision? Did you have it growing up, or is it something that you picked up later on? What do you think of the games? What do you think of the quality? I know the controllers are not very good at all, but I mean, that's just what we grew up with, right? So let me know, did you grow up with the ColecoVision? Did you have the Intellivision? What was your pre-NES system of choice? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks guys for checking out this video. I got some more reviews, some more fun stuff in the works, so just stay tuned for all of that. But until next time, I'll catch all of you guys later.